It's the chore no one wants to do. Planning out what to do with your estate in the event of your death can be a frightening prospect for a lot of people. But in the end, it will save your family a lot of trouble during an already tough time. We've got some simple steps to make the whole process of estate planning a whole lot easier so you can get back to enjoying your life. And for more now, we're joined by Stephanie AuWerter, contributing editor for SmartMoney.com. Good morning.
Hi, Michelle. Great to see you.
Good to have you here. Let's talk about wills first. What if you don't have a lot in savings, you're not super wealthy? Should you still consider putting together a will?
You absolutely should. Wills are not just for the wealthy. If you have stuff, a home, a car, jewelry, any assets, chances are you know how you want to distribute it when you die. And if you have young children, you probably know who you'd want to raise them. So you do need to create a will. It doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. That said, if you do have a big estate, you want to find an attorney to help you out. But for a very simple will, you can even use a software program. There's a bunch of them out there. One that I like is offered by a company called Nolo, and it costs about $50.
Nolo, okay. Let's talk about the power of attorney. Explain to us what that is, what that does in the case that you can't speak what you'd like to see happen.
These are legal documents that you sign that will establish who would make financial and healthcare decisions on your behalf if you are no longer able. So this isn't something for when you die. This is something that would come into play if you're incapacitated. Now, none of us want to think about these scenarios, but it's so important that we do. It can help reduce family fighting, and ultimately it could keep your family out of court.
And that is a big thing. Also, what about long-term care, actually not only for you, but for your parents who might be aging?
And this is such an important thing to think about if you're in your 50s or 60s. Long-term care is breathtakingly expensive, and Medicare does not cover these costs. So one thing to consider is long-term care insurance. Now, in this case, the insurance itself can be pretty expensive, but paying out of pocket for long-term care can bankrupt a family. So one way or another, you have to come up with a plan for how these types of costs will be paid for should they arise.
Beneficiaries inherit whatever you have. And so on a lot of documents you have to name your beneficiaries. How often should you keep those updated? What kind of life-changing event should you watch for?
Well, if you just got married or divorced or had a child, basically if your immediate family has changed in some way, you want to review those accounts that have a beneficiary named and potentially update them. Now, this would include your 401k, your IRA, any bank or brokerage statements or accounts that you have, and a life insurance policy. You probably, for example, don't want your ex to inherit your retirement funds.
Yeah.
So you just want to make sure everything's up to date.
And lastly, I know this sometimes gets so confusing about IRAs, and I've had a lot of questions about them in the past. Explain to us, are there any considerations or updates you should do to your IRA?
Well, this is a great year to consider converting your traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is a great estate planning vehicle. Distributions are tax-free, and unlike traditional IRAs, you don't have to take withdrawals when you reach age 70 and a half. Now, if you have a traditional IRA, consider converting it. In the past, there were income restrictions that kept some people from being able to do that, but this year they've been lifted. Also, if you convert this year and it generates a tax hit, you can roll that over the next 2 years, and that's a special deal just for this year from the IRS. So good time to think about it.
All right, you should take advantage.
Yes.
All right, Stephanie AuWerter, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.